They have good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Nnaemeka. The average Nigerian, the average African is mentally weak and entitled. So much entitlement. You see, what happened over the last 2 3 days has actually shown that we are we are what we call unleavened ourselves. Just because Donald Trump put a freeze a pause on AIDS, most of the NGO complex in Nigeria, the NGO industrial complex in Nigeria, everybody's crying and wailing. There's nothing they've not said, they've abused him, they've done, as if they are entitled to those aids. Look at South Korea, look at India, look at Malaysia, look at Indonesia, look at South Korea to be precise. You will not see South Koreans wailing and crying because America put pause on AIDS. You will not see Malaysians or Indonesians wailing. Here, Nigeria as a country, in 1960, Nigeria GDP was $4.2 billion. Singaporean GDP was $3.9 billion. In 1970, Nigerian GDP was $12.3 billion. Singaporean and South Korean GDP was $9.5 billion. In 1980, Nigerian GDP and South Korean GDP were at par. 1960, remember, Nigeria GDP was $4.2 billion. South Korean GDP was $9 billion. It was $3.9 billion. Today, 2024, 2025, January 29th, South Korean GDP is $1.6 trillion. Nigerian GDP less than $200 billion. 220 people who are so entitled, who believe so much, have turned their life into a Babiyala life. If America comes or the West comes and withdraw or withhold their aid, we'll start willing like entitled Dingbats, children that have refused to grow. If Nigeria had maintained the same growth trajectory as South Korea in 1970, today we'll have a $2.7 trillion economy. We'll be at a country, the hope of the rest of Africa. Just because Donald Trump put a pause on AIDS. It's not an entitlement. We have, it's the usual thing. An average Nigerian, is always entitled. Oh, my uncle is rich, he's supposed to help me. My aunt is rich, he's supposed to do this for me. This my cousin is rich. It's a culture that have permeated every facet of our life, where we refuse to win ourselves of this beggarly mentality, of this slavish mentality, of this entitlement mentality. Nobody owes you anything. Nobody owes you anything. The only person that owe you anything are your parents. And once you get to 18, 21, and they've trained you, you're your own. That's because Donald Trump put a pause. Everybody's wailing and lamenting. And if you look at it, 99% of this NGO industrial complex, these people that are depending on all this is are criminals. I even use that word. They are criminals because most of these grants and aids do not actually get to the final beneficiaries. Some of them use the proceeds of this aids to pay their children's school fees, build houses, buy luxury vehicles, travel around the world, and do dorime. 90% of most of the NGO nonsense that you see all over Nigeria and Africa are people who are using under the cover of NGO to collect proceeds from the US, from the West, to loot. They are worse than the governments in Africa. That is why, because the man said, okay, it's their money. The money belongs to Americans. And they voted massively for this man. And this man, he campaigned on these things, that he's going to put a freeze on most of these things. He's going to make sure every of the taxpayers' money in the US are properly accounted for. And the people voted for him to do it. And he's doing it. It is their money, not your money. And everybody's wailing. Everybody's lamenting. Are we not ashamed? If Nigeria, between 1960 to 1966, even to 1970, the average Nigerian, all you need is just your passport. With your passport, you enter Nigerian Airways, you visit you go to any country of the whole world. In the 60s, you don't need visa to go to America or the UK, because we had leaders then who have self-confidence, who understood their self-worth. We had people. Our ancestors will be very ashamed of us. Our ancestors will be so ashamed of what has become of those they left behind in this shithole jungle called Nigeria. See us lamenting. See us wailing. Between 1960 to 1966, the Nigerian pounds then was far stronger than the dollar. In fact, between 1960 to 1966, 65 pence of Nigeria was equivalent to $1. In fact, in 1970, it even became 57 cents to 57 pence to $1. We had an economy that was productive based. We had leaders, Michael Okpara, Tafawa Balewa, Obafemi Awolowo, Ahmadu Bello, Nnamdi Azikiwe. People, very proud, selfless human beings who value their Nigerianness. All we have today are all manner of puppets, all manner of people that have lack of self-awareness, people that have inferiority complex. When they see the white man, they will start shaking like an olive. I like what Donald Trump is doing. In fact, I even want him to even cease aid to Africa. He should stop every aid to your 10 origin. In fact, he should start deporting as many legal immigrants as possible. You cannot jackpot your way out of your problem. Let's all sit down here and salvage this land. May God have mercy on you.